Welcome to episode 2 of our Beyond Baking series, where we discuss queries, problems, troubleshooting, and so much more beyond just the baking recipes. And today's episode is all about storing your cupcakes. Whether you are a home baker going to be selling cupcakes or you are a mom looking to organize your kid's birthday party, you might want to learn how to properly store the cupcake for the stress-free D-Day. This video tutorial has been divided into following subsections. Now I will leave the timestamps for all you guys in the description box below so that you can directly jump to the section which is most relevant to you. While storing the unfrosted cupcakes, the most important aspect is to make sure that the cupcakes are cooled completely before you even think of storing them, which you can ensure by simply touching and feeling the cupcakes. So to store it, simply take a deep airtight container and place the cupcakes in a single layer. Since these are unfrosted, you can even stack them one above the other by placing a parchment paper in between. Leave it at your countertop away from sunlight for 2 days and they are ready to be eaten at any time of the day or ready to be frosted at any time. To store in the fridge, simply put this airtight container for a week in the fridge. Please note, if using butter-based cupcakes or cupcakes with melted chocolate, it might turn solid in the fridge. Just allow it to thaw for 30 minutes to an hour before serving and it will be soft again. You can definitely frost them when they are cold, but just allow it to come to room temperature before serving so that you don't find it hard. To store the cupcakes in the freezer, simply wrap them individually first, then place in a Ziploc bag and store for 3 months. Do remember to label them correctly. You can certainly stack them one above the other once frozen if you have space constraints. Now let us see how to store frosted cupcakes. If you are planning to consume your cupcakes in the next 1 to 2 days, your best bet is to store the cupcakes at room temperature in an airtight container. Find a deep container, place your cupcakes in a single layer, cover with a lid and let it sit on your countertop away from sun for 1 to 2 days. You can also use those cupcake cavity boxes available in the market. I have shared few links in the description box below if you would like to check. Now this technique would work for cupcakes frosted with buttercream or ganache. In fact, this is probably the best way to store as they will not dry out and the cupcakes will be ready to eat at all time. Now this won't work for a cupcake made using whipped cream frosting, as the frosting would melt at room temperature and being a perishable product will go stale and become inedible. It is better to store them in the refrigerator at all times. It is ideal to store cupcakes in the fridge for up to 4 to 5 days. The steps remains the same as discussed for the unfrosted cupcakes. If you want to store the cupcakes for longer, then freezing them is your best bet. Place the cupcakes in a single layer on a cookie sheet and then place them in the fridge for 2 to 3 hours or in the freezer for about an hour. After the frosting on top is frozen, that is when they are partially freezed, individually wrap the cupcakes using a saran wrap and then place in a Ziploc bag or freezer bag. Do remember to label them correctly and then freeze for 3 months. By the way, you do not need to remove the cupcake liners before freezing. You can freeze it along with the liners. I have always done it that way and it makes no difference at all. Now what to do when you are making cupcakes in bulk? How to store them? Well, it is practically impossible to wrap each of them individually, right? In that case, I would say line the countertop with cling wrap and place about 20 cupcakes close to each other in a row of 5 and then cling wrap them together. Once frozen, you can always stack one above the other without any problem. Also, thawing these frozen cupcakes are super easy. If you have individually wrapped them, then it becomes even more easier. Just take out the ones you need, remove the saran wrap and let them thaw in the refrigerator overnight, or you can also leave it at room temperature for a couple of hours until they are again soft to touch. So if thawing directly at room temperature, it might take a little longer for the cupcakes to come to the room temperature and be as soft as freshly made. Either way, do remember to remove the saran wrap first and then thaw so that the little condensation does not affect the frosting on top, making it squishy or worst case totally ruins it. Now it is little tricky to store cupcakes with fondant toppers. Fondant cannot be refrigerated, but if you have no choice other than storing the cupcakes, then the best way would be to pack them in an airtight container and store at room temperature. This is the best choice overnight or in the fridge for 3 days. Not recommended to freeze them as there are possibilities that the color might bleed, so it is better you store the fondant separately and place it right when you need it. You can store the fondant decorations at room temperature for months together, so that is something to think of. Talking about cupcakes with perishable ingredients or fillings that are fresh, such as the fresh fruit or whipped cream like our strawberry filled cupcakes, just remember, as a general rule of thumb, these needs to be definitely stored in fridge no matter what frosting they have and no matter how long you are storing, be it just for a day or for a couple of days. Find more details about perishable ingredients on the blog post, the link for which is in the description box below. So what are the top 3 key takeaways that I want to walk away with this video? The number 1 is to cool completely. So always and always cool your cupcakes completely even before thinking of storing them, be it at room temperature in the fridge or the freezer. This must be your key takeaway from this video. The next thing is to wrap them up tight. This also keeps the cupcakes moist, by the way. It might seem like frosted or unfrosted cupcakes are pretty durable, but if you leave them sitting out in your kitchen without any protection, they will dry out before you know it, as I mentioned. The number 3 takeaway is to pick buttercream as your frosting. For the most part, frostings are pretty similar when it comes to storage time, but there is one exception, which is buttercream. The blog post does have additional information on storing store-bought cupcakes, and few queries like stored cupcakes tends to get harder, temperature of fridge, etc. So find the link for the same in the description box below. So that's it. I guess pretty much everything has been covered in this video, but if you have any other queries regarding storing the cupcakes, then do leave a comment below and I will try to troubleshoot each one of them. Also share your suggestions for our Beyond Baking series. So what should we discuss next? So yes, that's it for this one. I'll see you soon with yet another one. Until then, this is Sushma signing off. Take care. Bye-bye.